Hey, and welcome to another Conversation with me. I'm Ken. Um, it's a surprise video today. I didn't make an announcement or post anything or even schedule it because it's just sort of popped up. I've got something I want to do, and it just came to me to do it now. But before I do, I want to talk about a couple of things. Let's talk about the one thing that's on everybody's mind. Um, the world's going kind of crazy right now. Things are wacky, wild, and hectic, and I think it's important that we all get into the one thing that truly matters, and that is how the hell Pete Davidson uh, pulls all these famous chicks. Just saying. Uh, no, no, not at all. I apologize for the use of the word chicks. That was more of a joke than an actual statement, and we can get into the political correctness of not just the word, but whether or not these girls are hot chicks. I don't know. Pete Davidson is goofy as hell, and it's just such a funny kind of trope that these weird, funny guys seem to get these famous girls. Um, to be honest, I'm a fan of Pete Davidson. He's a weird, funny character. So, hey, man, you live your life. Good for you. Um, in all honesty, the other thing I really want to talk about is Midland Mall Comic Con. We are just a few weeks away from the big show. Been doing a lot of stuff for it. I'm going to show you some of the prints that are available now. Got a lot of fan art. Have some promotional images coming, and that's what we're working on today. As a matter of fact, I was asked by Paul, my man, the great Paul King, who owns and operates Fett's Toy Depot and is orchestrating this entire big show unto himself because he's kind of a pimp that way. Midland Mall Comic Con is in Midland, Michigan, at the mall, clearly. Big, expansive event. They did a great one in 2020, and then COVID happened in 2021. Everything really much blew to shit. And we're back, though, and I'm really happy to be involved with it this year. I've been doing some promotional art for the show. I was lucky enough to design the badges and the logo you see there. And then I'm slapping it on some art and doing some original prints for the show that will be exclusive to Midland Mall Comic Con. Now, obviously, if I have any left over, they'll still be for sale, and some of them will be available at Fett's Toy Depot in person. So check that out. Special shout out, because I always give a shout out to my homie Ted Davies, who does about 200 web shows and podcasts and stuff. Ted is the guy who hooked me up with Paul from the Midland Mall Comic Con, and without him, I wouldn't really. Not sure if I'd be involved in it. Although the convention got a lot of great attention in 2020, and I just missed out on it. So Paul has been working really hard to promote it, promote the hell of it this year. It's going to be a much bigger, inclusive event. People coming from all over the country just to be there. We have a cosplayer from Texas and jewelry makers and craftsmen and artists, and there's tons of stuff. So one more time, check it out. That's my Spidey 2099. Swing on in March 5th, 10 to 6, and March 6th, noon to 5. We will be there, and we will be rocking the Comic-Con scene. So, in that vein, and enough about Pete Davidson, really wanted to do this. Whoops. I removed it. Didn't want to remove it. There we go. Paul's a big fan of Venom, so I just thought he asked if I'd do a Venom for him for the show, and I'm going to do that. So I threw this sketch together really quick, and then I fine-tuned the pencils. And I think what I'm going to do is there we go, switching places. If I switch places, then I can make the art front and center. So anyway, got this going. What I'm going to do is do some of the inking. I don't think I'll get all of it done because I don't want this video to be about 2 hours long. I've already run my mouth for 5 minutes and haven't done any art. So guys, let's get to inking. Now you see this is done in blue line, and the reason for that is I don't have to erase it when I can draw right over top of it, which is good unless I want to preserve the original uh, pencils, which I don't. Um, don't ask me why. Me as an artist, I feel like a piece of work isn't complete until it's complete. So this is just one stage of it. So I really don't want to preserve. I'm like I should, but this is just a fan piece, and I don't. I'm not preserving it for the future work or inking. And if I did want to do something else with it, I could always print. I've scanned this already in high resolution, so I could print it out in blue line and re-ink it, or for somebody else to ink. But for me, drawing on the actual original page is just the most natural and fluid and works the best for me as a creator. Um, Talk a little bit about my pens. I'm using a Tombow. Actually, I'm using a series of pens today. I'm using a Faber-Castell SC. I've got one of these bad boys, which is another Tombow. This is Tombow. It's a double-sided Tombow with a small brush on one end and a big bad brush. Look at that sucker on the other. That's for big, thick, badass lines. Tombow makes a great series of brush tips, and they're my new favorite. I'm so in love with them. I'm trying to show you this here. Can't see it very well. At any given point, I have no less than 5 inking pens for any particular drawing. What's this one? Needle drawing. I forgot. This is called Superior. I thought this was something else. This was from a set I got online, and sometimes I just go to the web, to the internet, go to dickblick.com or even Amazon or eBay, just kind of search for different pens because I want to try them out. My very favorite has always been the Pitt series, Faber-Castell's Pitt inking pens. There is a ton of different variety of brushes, chisel tips and soft brushes, hard brushes, and then just like a regular felt tip. But the reason I have different pens is because I need different line quality. So I'll show you I'm doing some edging with a simple pen here. And I'm just doing this to get some of the outlines. I'm not sure if I want to explain all this. I talk a lot while I'm doing these. So as you just see, I'm looking at quickly where I've got my lines sort of tight. In art terms, the difference between tight and loose is just how rough or sketchy a picture is. And you see, for example, this tongue here, it's a very clean line, not a lot of sketchiness. I would call this tight, maybe not on top, but like this. I'm going to draw that right on top of this. No real deviation because that line is tight. This shoulder, though, look at that. The shoulder, I would call that rough. That's rough as hell. And so, because I was just figuring out the placement of the shoulder and the size and then comparing it to the other shoulder. So as I'm inking it, I've got some decisions to make as to where exactly to go. So the hands are like that too. I went really rough on the hands because I was just trying to figure out different things. Some things came out really tight and perfect to with like first try. Others I would play with, and still others I will always do some changing in the inks in the process of inking. Inking is really finishing to me. I mean, unless you're a professional, if you're a professional penciler, then you do your pencils and you probably do them pretty tight. If you're a professional inker, then you're just doing that portion of it. But as an artist, if I'm doing both, it's really 2 parts of the same, just steps in the same process, working toward getting finished piece of artwork. Which is why I don't consider the picture really done when it's just in pencil. And the other thing is, I don't like to do my pencils very tight because I'm still creating. And if they're too tight, there's not much to add in the inking process. And that's really the fun part for me, is changing up and still creating and adding things as you go. And I, much as I'm sometimes a tradesman, or I talk about skill when it comes to art, but I consider myself an artist, which means creator, which means my favorite part is the creating, the fun stuff. Like right now, I'm throwing in some extra wispy lines just for kicks. But at this moment, what I'm trying to do is just kind of get the basic outline, the lines that I know are ready and going to stay where they are. Getting those locked in. I've rarely ever done a Venom before. In fact, I think the only times I've truly drawn Venom was like a free comic book day or convention when I'm doing live sketches and someone requests it. So I've never done. I don't have at all a finished, actually polished Venom piece. So I think right now his foot needs to be down a little more. So thanks, Paul, for helping me stretch a little bit, because this will be my first time doing a real Venom. Hope it doesn't suck. I'm sorry, I keep stopping to look at the screen and see how this is coming out. It's a little weird because, again, I'm not drawing right on top of looking at the picture like I normally would. I'm because the camera is right here where you're looking. That's where my eyes should be. So it's a little goofy drawing for the camera sometimes, but it's a lot of fun, and I like to share this process with you. So I'll put up with it. So like I said, I'm probably going to do some of this on the live video, and then a lot more of it, some of the polishing in my own time, and then share the finished product. So because I've never done a full Venom, I had to do a little bit of digging just to make sure that I had things right, like the spider on the chest. I wanted to verify how, because originally I drew it like Spider-Man's, just larger, and I recalled from way back in the day when Venom first came out that the spider isn't actually like Spider-Man's current spider. It's a totally different. The way the legs go are different, and they don't come from the torso; they come from the head part for some reason. It's a neat design choice, but so I went back to, and hopefully you can tell a little bit from this image, but I went back to the basics of Venom, and I recently watched the movie for the first time, the first one, and it's actually better than I expected. And I really watched it because I wanted to see the second one. I thought, well, I might as well watch the first one first. Plus, anybody that's seen any of the Spider-Man stuff, there's a chance we're getting Venom into the Marvel universe through the miracle of the multiverse of madness. Now, whether he's in that movie or not, I don't know, but we did see the multiverse open up and some hints at Spider-Man in the Venom movie, which would be fantastic because, I mean, we all know that Spider-Man's Venom's origins are tied to Spider-Man, but in the movies, they're not. That's just because of rights and stuff. But now that all these studios are figuring out that there's money to be made by allowing each other to collaborate, we're going to get some very amazing shit very quickly here. Now, if you haven't watched my review of Spider-Man No Way Home, go back to my channel and find that and watch it, because I talk about it. I give you all the spoilers. And so I'm not going to rehash that here, but suffice to say it was very good. But I think it was just the beginning. I think we've started something here, because people are clamoring for it, man. They're just loving it. I mean, all the TV shows, the what ifs now connecting to actual canon in the MCU. Now, arguably, honestly, DC did it first. I remember, a few years back when DC did that amazing crossover. In fact, I hated the crossovers because I didn't watch all the TV shows, but it was pretty badass that they did a crossover with like Legends and Supergirl, and they had like Tom Welling playing Clark Kent for one of the crossovers, and that was a brief cameo, and that's cool. And I think most of those cameos were just for cameo's sake, and Marvel took it to the next level. But still, you could argue that the DC did the multiverse thing before Marvel did, at least in video or TV. So when I went back to do a little research for my Venom here, I looked up what kind of Venom do I think is proper. Whenever I'm doing a character that's not my own, like Hulk or Spider-Man, I look at the influences of better artists that came before me, and what kind of homage do I want to pay to that. And when I think Venom, because I'm a child of the '90s, I think Todd McFarlane. A lot of stuff's been done since. A lot of artists have taken him over, gone different directions, but Todd McFarlane was my idol growing up. And before Spawn, he rocked out Hulk and Spider-Man, and definitely was the not the creator, but the instigator of our modern version of Venom with the tongue and all that stuff. I'm gonna do a little bit of gross stuff coming off the tongue to start. We're gonna do some more of that later. So I wanted to be sort of true to that Venom. You can do a much more monstrous, gross Venom as well, and that's arguably a very good idea. The movie Venom, really cool looking and dark. For me, I'm just definitely what did I want to create? I wanted to do a McFarlane Venom, which means a little more like this, a little more rounded shoulders and bulky, hulky. Not as much demonic. If that's not demonic's not the word, but it's definitely. I think if you go and look at different Venoms, it's definitely a style. This tongue's got to have a little something to it. So I see the teeth. Trying to decide when. Sometimes it's hard to decide when to switch pens. I get comfortable working with one. The problem with that, though, is that I invariably will need to change the line weight on something. And if I don't switch pens, then I'm making a little more work for myself. I'm already seeing I'm going to need to change something up here. Luckily, I've got many tools at my disposal, including whiteout pens. If I got to fix anything here, or largely, I do a lot of my fixing digitally. So some of this shading I'm about to do right here is a little homage to classic Todd McFarlane. Now, Todd McFarlane changed his style quite a bit too. It's interesting to watch his evolution. If you go back and look at the 80s and 90s, especially, Todd grew and grew and grew. And even from Spawn #1 on to now, his style, it's funny because his style looks like it's influenced by Todd McFarlane currently. But there's definitely a lot of room for improvement in his early work. And he was strong and energetic, and he took that popularity and used it, and then was able to just grow. Not just grow his business, but grow as an artist. So I'm going to switch here. Now, this is actually a thicker pen, but it's got a pressure sensitivity that the other one doesn't have. So I can get finer lines with this pen, or thicker lines, depending on what I feel like doing. So some of this I'm going to go over. Like I want this. This is going to want to be a bolder line. But I can also do, see like that? Very fine lines, even finer than the one I was just using. The one I was just using has no variation. So I'm throwing in some cross hatching here, or some hatching here where I know it's going to be. Probably going to end up adding to it. Sometimes with the cross hatching, it just takes on a life of its own. And I'll end up doing a lot of cross hatching only to cover it up completely with black. but it's because it kind of evolves, and I need it to evolve. I'm going to try and zoom in here a little bit because I want to do the teeth, and I thought maybe I'd give you a good look at the teeth. Venom's got wicked, monstrous teeth. Mm-hmm. I'll probably go back over a little bit and fill in some of these little white spots. I hate the white spots. My brain goes all over the place when I'm drawing. So I'm doing teeth. I'm going to go over here and do some shading too. But that's cool. Because it's a creative process. And if it were just A to B, like paint by number, shit, anybody could do it. And arguably, maybe anybody can. Let me check the comments real quick, see if anybody's doing what has jumped in here on my video. Definitely, Facebook does, for some reason, does not like to connect to StreamYard, the service I'm using. So I don't always get my comments until later. So if you're trying to comment and I haven't responded, my apologies. And I see. Okay, so then I checked in. I hear my own voice. I hate that. All right, just making sure that I'm not missing anybody. Thank you guys for paying attention. So that's the teeth. I'm gonna see now. I want to do some bigger shapes, so I'm gonna switch to the larger brush. This is more like an actual paintbrush. This sucker is huge. Let's back up a little bit. This is nice and big though, so I want to do a section that's just larger. Fill it in. Still got that brush tip that's pressure sensitive, so I can go from a tiny point to a big thick line, but also fill in a large area rather quickly. It's all about the tools, man, too. It's all about having the right thing, right tool for the right job. There's a bunch of times in my career when I first started, I only used technical pens, and the biggest pen that I had probably was 0.50, which is not that big. So to get these thick lines, I would just go over and over and over them and color them in. Or at best, once in a while, I would use just a Sharpie or a magic marker for the big areas. I was never good with a brush. I was never really comfortable doing any dipping my pen in actual ink wells and inking that way. That just wasn't my style. And love the classic artists, man, the guys that grew up like that, the guys that I loved growing up, like Jim Sanders the third. Rest in peace, Jimbo. And I mean, a million other guys that do draw like that or use a quill or something. That's how they came up, and that's how they learned, and that's what they know, and they're very, very fucking good at it. It's just not me. And part of the reason for that is there was no school for this when I was growing up. There was no, I had nobody to take me under their wing and teach me how to ink. So short of just practicing with a pen and a marker at home, I had no idea of the actual proper tools and skill set that professional inking took. So really, everything I've done has been self-taught. And this is even before YouTube videos and shit. Now you can teach yourself professional practices all day online. You've got enough YouTube, or I take some other classes online like Domestica or Pencil Jockeys, or even just watching YouTube videos. You could literally just watch great YouTube videos by guys like David Finch. Ooh, his stuff is so awesome. Or even less famous people, but are still amazing. Point is, Now the information is out there, but when I was coming up, and I've been doing this for about 14 years professionally, but even then, and I'm still learning stuff now because, um, even though I've been doing it a while, I'm still an indie artist. I have no major distribution. I don't work for big companies. I work for a small press, or I publish my own. So it's still all very much just me learning my own craft. Um, and so, frankly, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I see a lot of guys now. I say guys. When I say guys, I want to put this out there. I say guys, and I don't mean guys. I don't mean male or female gender. I mean like guys, in a general sense, non-binary term, because it's just a term anyway. I'm not trying to say that artists, because I know a ton of great, fun, and awesomely talented, amazing female artists who are better than me. Um, but when you're talking to a bunch of friends and you're like, "Hey, you guys," it's not about gender. Just want to put that out there. I don't want to sound like I'm assuming that comic book artists are all guys. So back to my point. Done with my little rambling there. Um, a lot of guys, a lot of people, um, just use whatever, man. And if you're into something, you like to draw, use whatever you got, whatever's around you. It's the kind of thing that what matters really is the product, not how you got there. So if you're using big ballpoint pens, you got it, Office Max, and Sharpie markers, as long as your product looks good at the end of the day, you can correct a lot of things in Photoshop or even some free digital programs. I use Metabang for a lot of stuff, and it's got great inking tools. And if you got a scanner, even a modest scanner, most scanners can go to crazy amounts. You only need to go up to about 300 DPI just to be competitive for printing. I like to do my inks in 600 because it's really high, but it can go up to 1200. You can do crazy numbers. At some point, it's a waste of time and just makes your files too large. But I think the concern was 300 used to be the standard, but then people started to expand and quality is getting better. And then you start to think, do I want this image to be scalable? Am I going to always want this Venom? Am I always going to want it to be a small picture, or do I want to blow it up to a poster? And for that, you would need a little bit larger of a resolution, DPI, dots per inch. I'm going to do a little bit of thick lines on this background, not many, but that's too. Sometimes I'll just throw in thicker lines here and there because I know I want some variation. And so I'm going to put a couple here, but I don't necessarily want this whole thing to be inked. I'm doing a webbing on the bottom, by the way, in case you can't tell. It's going to be a little homage to the Spider-Man Origins of Venom. So throwing in some thick lines, it's going to give me hopefully that variety that I want, and then I'll be able to do fine lines in between, and that line variation will make the picture more interesting. Do some more blacks in between these. Yeah, see, I already screwed up this side here. I can tell I'm not to fix it. Do a little more blacks where it's black so that the white shows more boldly. Okay, I think I'm done with the big one. I can always pick it up again. I like to do as much with the big brush as I can in one fell swoop. Really, where I live is the small brushes. That's where I have the most fun. Is the little details, the little itsy bitsy wispy shit. What are we at? We're at just past 30 minutes. Dog damn it. I'm gonna do a little more inking here, and then cut the video short. This particular picture, so I've got a little going on here. I want to have some of the symbiote. I feel like he's under attack, so I'm going to have some of the symbiote coming off like a little bit of a... Because he's essentially a liquid living creature that envelops Eddie Brock. I'm explaining this like, if you're watching this, you probably know a little something about Venom. But if you don't, he is a black symbiote. It's just an alien creature that's like a living sludge, kind of. And I still think of him as a villain. When he was first introduced, he was a villain to Spider-Man. And the reason was the symbiote was Spider-Man's black costume. Remember in the 80s, they changed Spider-Man from the red and blue costume to this wicked looking black costume, which I hated. I actually hated so much. Remember I was in science class reading some kind of magazine, probably a comic book I wasn't supposed to be reading at the time because it was school. A lot of my stories are of me in school reading comic books when I was supposed to be doing work, either reading comics or drawing comics. Remind me one day to tell you about the Doc Samson She-Hulk comic that I made up. Or not. Anyway, I remember when I heard that they changed Spider-Man's costume, and I was so devastated. Like, why would you do that? I was young, and I didn't realize back then, though, that they just do a lot of things for gimmick's sake, and then they get making a big event when they bring it back. Anyway, I'm putting some more strands of goo here. The black costume was actually a interactive alien creature tried to mind meld basically with Spider-Man. When Spidey fought him off, got rid of him, the creature found somebody else to hook onto, and then he hated Spider-Man for rejecting him. And he hooked onto somebody who hated Peter Parker. That'd be an Eddie Brock. And the two of them combined their hatred and anger to become this powerful character, Venom. And then this became a super cool nemesis for Spider-Man because he kept the costume, even though he's a shape-shifting alien, he kept the costume sort of. I don't know if it was for Venom's in his mind. I don't know if it was homage or he just liked it or it was still wanted something to do with Spider-Man. Who knows? Venom even could shoot webs and still have Spider-Man's powers, but was also like big like the Hulk and monstrous. Which is one of the things that's fun to draw about him. I always like a big hulking, massive muscle character for obvious reasons, because it's sort of easy to draw for me because of my affinity for the Hulk. What I am going to do here is I'm going to do a lot of hatching, but I'm not going to do a lot of solid blacks because I think I want to take care of some of that in the coloring process for this piece. I'm going to give Paul the original to this, so I want it to look as finished as possible. But I do think when you're doing a color version, especially if you color it solid black, it gets very boring very fast. So you got to do shades of grays and blues to allude to the fact that this costume's all black, but still see the muscle definition and stuff. And that's kind of an art form unto itself as a colorist. I don't consider myself a colorist, but the more classes I take these online courses, and I really am working on stepping up my coloring game because I started doing coloring out of necessity. Now I've begun to enjoy it. And if I'm going to do anything, I might as well do it my best. I truly believe if something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. And I love doing art. And specifically, I love doing comics. I feel like I should cut this short, though, man. I'm hitting 35 minutes now. The ground behind him is going to be all kinds of just crazy if I have my ways, and I do because it's my piece. So I think I'll just do that on my own time, not in a video, and share it with you later. You see where I'm going with all of this wild, gooey stuff. The thing about the Venom Strands and stuff is that you want them to feel like they're alive, and so you give them these twists and turns, like they're wrapping around and doing something, not just like these are starting to look a little to me like not intentional. They look like maybe he's just being shot and blood is splattering or something, and that's the way you want. Like this here is going to be saliva. You want that to be splurting out in a deliberate fashion, or and I guess I should say in a random fashion. And you want the spurts here of venom to be more deliberate. And I'm going to blend those by doing the same kind of cross hatching that I do with the rest of this. Anyway, that's enough for now, I think. I'll do a little shading on this. I'll probably work on this a little more tonight because I want to try and get this ready for Paul. Slap some graphics on it and make it for the show. Any thoughts, any comments, anything else you want me to draw in the next video, give me a shout out. Do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe if you're following me on YouTube. If not, go to this website, get your free digital download of Ken's comic, the last issue of Angel's Blood. That'd be Angel's Blood 0. Ran a really successful Kickstarter for that last year. Very proud of how that book came out. Wonder if I have any images of that to show you. I'm looking through the art. My new book coming up is called Hatched, an illustrated daydream. It's a sketchbook project full of artwork, features, things that have been unseen, stuff like this. This is some lost stuff from my first book, Spring River, or some Inktober drawings that never got to see the light of day, really. I don't have any Angel's Blood stuff in my catalog here to show you. Bummer, man. Hey, here's something I got. Watch this.
There is a question I'd like to ask you first here, in the office of His Holiness. Do you believe in God, sir?
Father, I simply believe that religion...
I would not ask if you believe what man says about God. I asked if you believe in God.
I'm an academic.
I bottle every speck of light and throw it in the dark. Angel in appearance with a demon heart. Gaining pieces just to watch myself fall apart. From which way can I sway to make my mark? Trying to outrun the shadow, sad to embark my arc. So clueless that the influence could be so ruthless. With an angel and devil soldered to my shoulders, I second guess my movement, phase moving while I'm stuck in park. My mindset I'm losing, I'm gaining the goddamn contusion. It's hard to decipher reality from the illusion. A choice I'm fused with, couldn't decide, so I took them both and blended the fusion. When is a great question. My contradicting views of light are progression, not lack of attention. Although I lack direction, my evil side says I'm perfect, my better half has confession. If I intertwine the two sides, I'd have sublime tendencies within the eyes I reside. Yeah. I'm steady looking
in a double-sided mirror, watching myself through my reflection, reflecting on my spirit. My fear is that someday my split personality will develop its own reality inside with the enemy. Perplexes me and eyes messed in the head. Distress calls out to all of my closest friends. In my mind blends every segment and everything I pretend, and I notice when I take the defense. But on the sunny side, all's good. Wife and kid great, slick job, work tough, and I'm never giving in. Turn the 311 up and live for positivity. I'm in my own paradise, so fuck all your bullshitting. I feel my soul.
Okay, that was Chase Passion with the test video that I went way too long on, but that song really spoke to me. And hey, it's just me. That song really spoke to me though, and I loved putting my pictures to Chase's lyrics, and his beats are just boom. So shout out to Chase Passion. Look up Chase Passion on bandcamp.com. Buy all his shit. Just buy it, because dude puts so much out there on YouTube and stuff that's free, but an artist needs to get paid. So support that dude. He is a local Michigan artist out of Midland, and he's just brilliant as a rapper, as a lyricist, makes some videos. He's freaking astounding. That's it for me. I'm hitting 42 minutes here, and I keep trying to make these half an hour, and I never get it under half hour. I'm gonna do some more of this, and I'll show you guys later. Follow me, click like, subscribe, follow the Midland Mall Comic-Con, follow Ted Davies, follow Fett's Toy Depot and Chase Passion. And if there's one thing I believe in, it's that we're here to help each other. I do what I can with keeping a positive attitude and trying to help people out, and just be sort of the light that I want to see. I try to bring positivity with my art. I try to bring it with my videos or my words. But if there's nothing else that we're here for, we're here to help each other. We are a tapestry of people. We're a society. None of us can do this alone. None of us can live alone. And we need people, and other people need us. So maybe you need to hear a kind word today, or maybe you need to be the person that says a kind word to somebody. We're all going through something that nobody understands and nobody even knows about. All of us have something inside. All of us have struggles. And you don't even have to share every detail with everybody or even anybody, but you do need to share. And it helps to share with one another. I'm rambling, but I mean every word. We all need one another. So what I suggest is that you do something kind for somebody else, because maybe tomorrow you're the guy that needs somebody to do something kind for you, and vice versa. Take care. Send me some comments. I really want to be more interactive with these videos, and I hope to get some more conversations going, maybe about stuff besides art and Pete Davidson. Take care.